What is a compliment you will remember till you die? I'm tall, heavy, and plain, and have been lucky enough to avoid getting catcalled for most of my life. But one time when I was in my 20s, biking to work in DC, this little old man on a street corner did a double take as I went by, pounding away at the pedals. "Mighty big legs," he hollered, whether in appreciation or astonishment I couldn't tell. Now whether I'm struggling to get the bike up a hill, or just feeling down on my body, I'll say to myself mighty big legs and feel that little extra boost. They are mighty big legs, and I am grateful both tuned for them. When I was a senior I was talking to my high school French teacher, telling her I wanted to go to nursing school and become a nurse after graduating. She asked me why not a doctor and told me I could easily be a doctor if I wanted. I had never had someone believe in me like that, and probably haven't since. Sounds silly but I still think about it. It might be a better story if I ended up going to med school, but I did become a nurse like I planned, as it was a better fit with other goals I had in my life. But her believing in me was one of the best compliments I have ever gotten. It's really weird. And to me it's a compliment, but we'll see. I cut all my hair off back in 2016 and started growing it out. My hair went through several different stages, from almost bald, to pixie, to 70s mullet and a long bob. I went to college up until 2018 and there was this girl I sat across in my class the whole time. We never spoke. But on the final day of college, she came up to me and said, "I've really enjoyed watching your hair change over the years." I'd quiet stuck with me. I guess it was nice to see strangers appreciate my chaotic hair. A group of slightly older people eating next to us stopped me as we were leaving a restaurant and told me they listened to the way I talked to my kids and they said I was a really good dad. My kids were young and struggling to maintain calm was tough. I told them I didn't have a good dad and I'm not sure what I'm doing, but before I react I think what would my dad do, and I do the opposite. They said keep doing what you're doing because they wished they had a dad like me. They were siblings. I thanked them and tried not to cry on my way out. When I was 15 and working at an MMA gym just cleaning and stuff. Everyone else was messing around and not working, and this guy that trained there came in while I was mopping. He says, "Hey, man. Just in case no one told you lately, keep up the good work and I'm proud of you." Didn't have a father figure in my life and my mother, and I didn't have a good home life, so it hit me pretty hard. Lol. I've taken pride in everything I do since then. Even when I don't get thanks. I do it for myself and to feel proud of myself. My hands are super wrinkly and have been since birth. The palms look very much like old people's hands, or like I've had them submerged in water. I grew up hiding them from people and was very insecure. One day when I was in a clay sculpting workshop, the instructor saw my palms after I was washing them in the sink near her. She looked surprised and said, "Wow, you have such capable hands. No wonder you do so well at sculpting." I've never seen my hands the same since and lost my insecurity about them. About 6 years ago, a heavily intoxicated wife of a former coworker came up to me at the company Christmas party and shouted, "You look just like Jennifer Lopez." I am 5 feet 2 inches, pale as hell, no ass, and at the time, quite obese. I said, "Ha ha, thanks, but no, I do not," which only caused her to double down. It gave me a weird surge of confidence for the rest of the night, and I suppose, the rest of my life. Whenever I am feeling down on myself, I remember that I was a drunk woman's JLo. I like how you wait to speak. You think about the words you say. When I have a conversation with people, especially in heavy subjects or ones I'm not versed in, I like to pause for a few seconds before I respond or ask a question. Another is in reference to me feeling bad about a bad comment. They told me I was a lot and I acted too excited, and should calm down. My boss told me straight up that I should never feel like I need to be contained. It's a weird one, but it resonated with me. It was the nicest soft letdown I ever heard. I was dancing with some girl, I was just a kid, and another girl came along and said something along the lines of, "Oh, you two are so cute together, or you'd make a great couple." I forget exactly what she said. The girl I was dancing with said, "You're a great dancer," and walked away. She wasn't into me, obviously, but that was the nicest way any woman could have let me know. It was very sweet and I'll never forget it. Over 20 years later, there's a psychological study that's based upon the fact that men remember compliments more than women because we get them so less often. So, every time I see my buds I call them handsome, and they are. I will kiss them goodbye and tell them I love them. It could be the last time I see them. I've been asked if I was gay because I do this. I'm not, and the compliment is always reciprocated between the friend group. Being told I'm handsome by my best friends will always be the best. I did mock trial my first year of college, most often in the role of an attorney. I'm pursuing a degree in poli-sci, so that's what I want to do for a career. This past February at a competition I gave a good opening statement, but I was pretty nervous to give a direct examination of my witness. One of my closest friends and teammates looked at me and said, "You don't need to be nervous. You were born to do this." I will never, ever forget it. I think about what he said every day. I was working a job about 600 km north of home. Was doing 28 days in, 7 days out, 10-hour days. At the end of the 3-month job, the mechanical engineer that ran the job came over to me and told me I was the best he had ever worked with. I was absolutely blown away by this. I'm a good tradesman, and love my job, but certainly never thought of myself in such a way. I work with so many excellent tradespeople. Maybe he was just having a good day and I was standing close by. Lol. I was working in my mother's yard in 2007 after being a heroin addict and in jail and rehab for it. It had probably been 7 years since I'd been around. I picked up 4 bags of mulch and threw them on my shoulder. "I forgot how strong you are." This also signified a break in the anger and disappointment towards me due to my decisions. She was killed in 2019 from a hit and run, so I think about this day often. I'm just glad I got to make some amends before she died. Went camping with the house I ran from. One of their friends also joined the trip. Said friend's son comes up to me. "Yo, you look like a survivor guy, like you belong out here." I love the outdoors and plan to move off-grid after some more prep, so to hear that from someone I just met was pretty cool. Had on a orange with grey underlined sweater and blue jeans, a square top blue and white military style ball cap. One that always stays in my heart is the first time my husband told me I look like an Elvish princess. He says it often, but the first time he told me it I absolutely melted. He was really genuine and passionate about it as he was saying it. If I start to feel down on myself and my looks, I try and remember that first time he said it to me, the look in his eyes as he said it, and it makes me feel beautiful. I have to manage and coordinate people frequently for my job. Sometime back one of my clients told me, "You have a way of making everyone in the room feel important," and that stuck with me. I know what it's like to feel like you're worthless or unneeded, so I think I subconsciously play to everyone's skill sets. Feeling needed builds confidence, and confidence is a big part of competence. I was serving and bartending in a restaurant's function room for a large crowd, and as I was flowing in between tables collecting empty drinking glasses, a very kind, much older woman stopped me, placed her hand on my arm to pull me closer and quietly said to me, "You have excellent posture." I consider myself a slouch and am always self-conscious about it, so it felt great to hear that. A woman at Pride this year gave me a stretchy beaded bracelet that was bright yellow. Yellow is my favorite color, so I gushed how happy I was that she gave me the yellow one, and she told me she chose to give me the yellow one because I resembled sunlight. I wasn't dressed in yellow, so it was certainly a comment on my demeanor, and a compliment has never made me feel so good. I've been in kitchens for 20 years in most positions, trying out new dishes or just making things for fun, and you have to ask the crew to try it. I don't like X, but this is fucking good. When you can change a person's opinion of something they haven't liked their whole life, it hits a different note. Cherry on top is when you catch them eating it again a week later. I had a history professor from Boston who was about 4 feet 10 inches tall. I'm 6. Since history was my major, I showed up to her class every day. She was very tough, but fair with her exams. When I turned in my final to her, she looks at the paper, looks up at me, back at the paper, back up at me, and says in her thick Boston accent, "Get done good, kid." Aced that class with a 98. When I was like 19, I had an ex who had a history of abuse. We were arguing about something I can't remember what about, but we were both shouting at each other. Then suddenly she broke down crying and started hugging me. Very confused, I let the moment pass until she could speak, and the compliment she paid me was, "Even when you're angry at me, I'm not scared of you." A tie for most memorable. The most memorable would be when a girl tell me, "You make my ovaries twitch." Or the first bike ride along the beach with my daughter and she told me, "Days with you are the best." First one definitely inflates the ego and lingers in my thoughts. The second I hope will replay in slow motion on my deathbed over and over again. Anything acknowledging key traits makes me feel seen. So, anyone who's told me I'm a good storyteller would have been a patient listener, fr interested in me. BC it takes time to truly draw me out. Also being told my cooking blows their mind. Any version of telling me I smell good. Fave compliments I've given: "You're a fast processor, You listen. The simple "you're cute" back in the college days. I was standing waiting for someone, and I hear "hey yeah you," and I turn around to face these two ladies up on a railing. "You're cute." Each probably weighed twice as much as I did. Their Cheshire cat grins enough to freeze the blood of any young guy. Yeah, I'll never forget that compliment. I worked for this old man Vietnam vet. He literally survived being blown up by a mortar doing hardwood floors when I was 18. I lived with him for a year and a half. When I told him I was quitting to move back to FL, he told me, "You're not the smartest, you're not the strongest, but you got balls, kid, and that'll get you where you need to be." This happened right around when Orange Is the New Black premiered. I was probably 29. Catherine Mulgrew was at my work Christmas party and I met her boss's girlfriend. She was impressed that I had read Dostoevsky and Tolstoy because I'm guessing she had reread them for the role. Then, she told me that I had great legs and I'll never forget it. A new friend was helping me figure out what was happening with my car and we were just chatting about it in general. It had been my husband's, who died recently and always said it was the best car he ever owned. My friend never looked up from the engine, and said your husband had good taste, and not just in cars. I'll never forget it. I pierced my own ears, double lobe piercing on both sides, and the reactions are always strangely wholesome. People are very impressed by my pain tolerance, even though in my opinion it is not very painful and takes more hyping up than anything. But it's always really sweet when middle-aged and old ladies say you did a really good job.